Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome all of you on behalf of NPP, and also NPP's leader as well as the tourism committee has been here. So actually, this is not our policy, this is your policy, because we developed this policy along with you all. I think one time or other we met every organization in here, every association in here, every region we visited, as well as we have been like, say, going ahead with the people. And as Nihal mentioned, this is a live policy. So it will be developed, it will be constructed, it will be changed according to your wishes, according to your intentions, and according to your particular aims. And to start with, I think sorry for the small technical glitch that we have, but let's start from here. This is actually the picture of Sri Lanka, because everybody has been talking about the tourism numbers. And numbers is what we have been like looking at. And in most cases, Sri Lanka has been comparing numbers of this year with last year. And we have been happy about it as well. And we are saying that we are 200% ahead just because we are comparing ourselves with the last year. So we started our tourism in 1966. That means we are completing almost 58 years. And along with us, most of the Asian countries have started tourism. And where are they? Where are they at the particular moment is the question. So we had about 2.3 million arrivals. That was our best in 2018. And we are still trying to achieve that within this year. Probably we will be not. But at the same time, the arrivals, the recoveries, the targets and all, you see that the revenue generated by a tourist per day for us is $190. Let's see what is being happening on the other parts of the world. So this is the picture. This is the big picture. When you have been comparing ourselves with, not with world, but with Asia, right? So when you are compared with Maldives, when we started in 1966, they didn't have tourism there. As Mr. Chaitya Pera mentioned, tourism started by Sri Lankans there in 1972 or further on. So 1972 onward, they achieved about 1.4 million in 2018, and this year, probably they will surpass us with numbers, even with the passenger numbers, even with the particular tourist numbers. And unfortunately, they are anyway surpass us with the revenue, because of the fact the tourists coming into Maldives at least spend about $375 per day, while the tourists coming into Sri Lanka is spending only about $190 per day. And then we compare ourselves with the other people who are also started in a similar time period. Actually, the tourism in Asia started in 1967, when United Nations has been declared a tourism year. That was a tourism year in the world. And with that, most of the countries coming out with tourism plans. And they started with 85,000. Where are they right now? They are actually achieving 38 million tourists. Probably they are bigger in size. But at the same time, compared with the Singapore, lesser in size, 700 square kilometers against 65,000 square kilometers in Sri Lanka. The numbers they achieved it, right now it's 13 million, but they achieved 18.5 million in the best years. And they are on there itself. And you see all these countries are having their own share of problems at the beginning, like we had. And what I didn't show here, compare ourselves with Cambodia, which has a massive social massacres, disasters and everything. Where are they right now in tourism? They are achieving another 13 million tourists. So it is not the matter of size, not the matter of crises, not the matter of anything else, but tourism has been running with ad hoc basis. When a minister comes, if he's a good minister, tourism will boom. When a minister comes, he's a bad minister, tourism will come down. If that is the case, that is where we need policies. We need policies to eliminate that political paternity, eliminate that particular propagandas, and make tourism a kind of particular subject and area where people have been running with the particular expertise. And the experts have been running the tourism industry. So that is the aim of our tourism policy. This is not a political propaganda itself. Like most of the parties have been releasing policies by circulating or recycling the particular earlier policies and releasing other policies, right? Or else we get a grant and we release a policy. Nobody's been looking at those policies and end of the day, you can find it in the Kadalakara's places, right? So this is not a policy like that. This is a live document. This we had lot of effort, lot of hardship, plus we meet all these kind of people. And none of us are politicians. None of us sitting here in this tourism committee are not the particular party patriotics or members or whatsoever. But at the same time, we see Sri Lanka needs kind of a change. And that change is motivated us to develop this policy, nothing else. We didn't expect political paternity to run this industry any longer. That's the whole aim. We have been going behind a kind of a leader who will giving that particular trust to us. That is none other than Mr. Anukumar Dissanayake. So that's the whole aim of our policy, right? And on unfortunate terms, all my colleagues who are very senior in tourism are declared about the problems that they had. And unfortunately, they are repetitive problems. Probably last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you are declaring the same problem, right? Some problems are governance issues. Maybe the Palat Sabha is not doing what the national tourism wants. Maybe the particular Pradesh Sabha is being having their own taxation policies. Maybe there are certain adverse visa conditions and all sort of things in the world. Maybe there are certain other kind of mishaps here and there. So we have been having governance problems. And there we have resource management issues. Sometimes what we see is when we want to build a new hotel, at least you need to take about 20 different approvals from 20 different organizations. That is not what is being happening when you are doing a kind of a BOI project in a BOI zone. One approval, you build the factory. But for a hotel, you need 20 approvals. If you bring an investor today, probably the hotel will start only after 2 years of time. Nobody wants to sink their money for 2 years period without having any income. And the other thing is the product development issues. We are always talking about the new products and all these kind of things, but at the same time, we are doing same clockwork tours ever throughout. Probably the last one that we developed is the Pico Trails. Pico Trails is the only thing that we can develop as a particular product within the last 2 years of time. Before that, we had Ramayana Trails. That was about 10 years or 15 years back. So in world, products have been developing every day. In Singapore, jewelry is being built in this year, or probably the garden of particular area has been developed in the next year. Cruise marinas have been developed in another year. So our product development will take at least 20 years for one product to be developed. Something wrong in there. And then we are talking about the marketing issues. I think my colleague Dilip Udadeni also been here. Probably the last particular global marketing campaign we did after 16 years, or probably early in history of 16 years he's been there without a marketing campaign. We do all ad hoc kind of things. We give money to Torana, we give money to this thing, we give money to that thing, but not the particular campaigns. Probably we will throw some money to a kind of a blogger and we think that the Sri Lanka will get promoted. But we don't have a strategic decision making or strategized marketing campaigns. Even the marketing campaign became a kind of a money-making venture every year. Every year we are changing brands. And this is the only country, I think, changing the brand in tourism every year. When every minister comes, change the brand. And the other thing is the human capital issue. You all know, like say, if you are building a hotel right now, biggest issue is been finding employees. Actually, some hotels are in the verge of being bringing employees down from overseas. We are coming into that level. And in a country, we had about a kind of a youth unemployment rate of 26%. Age of 16 to 24, there is about a 26% unemployment rate. And we are not being able to capture those kind of people. And even the people who are in the tourism industry has no trust of the local tourism industry, so they migrate. So that is an issue. And then there are connectivity issues. Then there are implementation and monitoring issues. All these kind of things are there. You know, Madam, you have been the tourism board chairman for so many years. You know that nobody has KPIs. Everybody can sustain in a particular government organization like tourism authorities without being check and balances, without having any performance appraisals. Your salary will be given anyway, whether you do it or not. So that's the fact that we need to be dealt with. And that only makes us to develop this policy statement. So I'm not been going through the policy statement itself, but I will go through these three elements. One is sustainability, the other one is inclusiveness, and the other one is economic progress. That means we need sustainable tourism development where nature, human beings, as well as the particular planet to be protected and used in a regenerative manner. Actually, the sustainability is an old concept itself. Sustainability is used by other destinations maybe 20, 10, 30 years back. Now we are talking about regenerative tourism, using the particular resources and regenerating them. So that is what we need to be aimed with. And the other thing is the inclusiveness. We need all the people to be together. More than all, there should be interconnectivity in the tourism industry with the other industries. Then only the tourism can be grown. And the other fact is the economic progress, which tourism is no longer a business, but an economy. What is the difference between a business and an economy? Businesses, people make profit. Economies, people will benefit. All the people will benefit. Some portion will go to the particular people, and most of the people in the society will be part of that economy. So that is what we need. Not only an industry or a business, but a real economy where majority of the population is part and parcel of the tourism. Maybe he's a farmer, but at least he's been growing things for the tourism industry. Maybe he's a fisherman. Maybe he's doing some kind of fisherman tours for the tourists who have been coming here to get the experience. So that kind of economy is what we are looking at. So income generation, retention, and distribution is the three things that we are looking at. As I mentioned, employability, maybe we have a very low unemployment rate, maybe it's 6%, but at the same time, youth unemployability is a big issue. That's where the three-wheeler guys have been coming up. When you are not being having a kind of a policy or a framework to attract these people into the industry, probably the three-wheelers is the best option. So we need to be looked at this thing in a kind of a bigger and better manner. So inclusivity of all stakeholders, maybe it is the biggest operators, investors, and that hierarchy of people. Maybe it is the bottom-down people who have been like just getting benefited from the tourism. Maybe pittala making guy, a craftsman, who have been providing these crafts to the particular hotels. Or maybe the people who have been growing something and giving the hotels. Maybe an archiyamma who made certain kadeyappang and making certain money out of the tourism industry. Those need to be part and parcel of the particular industry. So inclusivity is a big element of this policy. You maybe see it in our policy, what we have been discussing under the inclusivity and the interconnectedness of the other industries. Tourism cannot be developed without the support of the other industries. Tourism in one hand and the government's other policies are in other hand will not be benefiting tourism if you are not being harnessing those two. A good example is the exercise law of Sri Lanka. We have been like say thinking soft liquor is as a big deal in this country. Beers and wines and such kind of liquors we consider as a kind of a criminal kind of things with a country which is full of drugs. And we are not been able to give soft liquor license to the particular tour operators who have been operating these particular hotels, which is a requirement, which is a part and parcel of tourism in anywhere in the world. So those kind of things can be easily solved. At least you have been zonalizing the tourism and giving certain specific laws for those areas will solve this problem. And inclusion of the all communities. There are different communities with different jobs. Maybe these are agricultural communities, maybe different ethnic groups, maybe different crafts villages. Those need to be part and parcel of the particular tourism policy itself. And the other big element is sustainability. In sustainability in Sri Lanka, we have some kind of a very imbalanced kind of approach. Either we protected it to the maximum where nobody can go. We are being very ardent. Even to be cut down a single tree, we will not allow. Even the entire road network can be harnessed, we will stop that. Or else we will be giving the businessman to cut down everything and destroy it and build up anything with the political way. So these are the two elements that we are looking at. But sustainability is not that. Using the resources, regenerating these resources, and keeping these resources in a big and better manner. If you go anywhere, if you go to Thailand, Sukhothai, Samuyu, everywhere where the cultural tourism is, you see these properties are being using very effectively and efficiently. Anywhere you go, Machu Picchu or any other kind of a place, these properties are what they make money, and this is how they preserve those kind of properties as well. So adapting sustainable development goals for tourism is another big deal. So these three pillars is what we are looking at. Within these three pillars, we have been developing 5 dimensions, which we think as the essential dimensions of the tourism industry. One of that is the visionary leadership, strategic governance, and inclusive growth. Because tourism industry, probably there are different schools of thoughts. Some people have been thinking we need different compartments in tourism. We need a promotional arm, we need a conventional arm, we need a hotel school, we need a development arm. But entire world, if you go into a kind of a developed tourism economy, say if it is Singapore Tourist Board, it's one entire venture with one leadership where the development, the particular marketing as well as other functions are being happening with different pillars. Or else you will be going to Thai Tourism Authority, same case. Even the Maldives Tourism Ministry is such case. But in here, we are doing compartments and we have been looking at only on our silo. Probably we market certain things which we don't develop the product. Good example, spiritual tourism in here. So spiritual marketing campaigns are being going on, spiritual tourism ventures can't be registered. So that is the particular element that we need to eliminate from here. So we have been talking about combining those things. I'll show you the particular structure itself. And the other thing is the priority industry status. Probably most of the people have been saying priority industry and priority industry and priority industry. Pramukha karmantayak karanawa, kiyanawa. So that is what people have been saying. But at the same time, priority industry means whenever you have been taking an economic decision by the government, maybe whenever the government has been taking a regulatory and legal decision, whenever government has been passing a law, you will consider tourism as something that you need to be protected. That is how tourism is being grown. Tourism need to be given the vested power, statutory bodies which can empower those kind of things. Actually, in Sri Lanka, how apparel industry is being grown is a good case example. They have something called particular Greater Colombo Economic Commission. Greater Colombo Economic Commission given the empowered elements by the particular president at that time. And that makes them to run the particular thing and develop everything in a fast pace. Even the fast pace Mahavali is such kind of a project. You pass a law and that law allows you to grow. That law allows to supersede other industries because you consider this industry is the priority industry for this year and we need to make it stabilized. Once it is stabilized, of course, you can make normal laws applied for this place. But until that is stabilized, revolutionary development tourism, if you want to break this 2 million mentality and if you want to go for 5 million mentality, we need to do a revolution. That is the revolution that we are talking about and proposing in this particular policy. And the other thing is the National Tourism Commission, which is an empowered body. So minister probably will be the political authority, whatever the party comes. But in here right now, minister is the head of tourism or apex body of tourism. That is not been happening anywhere. Have you ever known who's the Singaporean tourism minister? Have you ever want to meet him? No. Because the policies are such, processes are such, you don't want to go behind the politician. But in here, we are not doing that. So we are proposing a National Tourism Commission empowered by the industry authorities, which is similar to Australia, which is similar to many countries, where the industry runs the particular entire tourism economy of that country. So that is something that we are proposing here. And the combining and the unification of SLTD, SLTBB and SLCB is what we are talking about. And the other element is the Policy Formulation Council. Actually, the particular government structure right now are implementation bodies, which is not implementing anything, but policy and plan formulation is not being done by anybody. So that is something which is wrong in there. And other element is SLITHM, or the particular hotel school, or Tourism and Hotel Management Institute, to have some kind of a pivotal role of expanding tourism training, not to do their own training, but to standardize the other people's training and making certain national standards as well as benchmarking with the international standards. Because we need people who are capable of doing those kind of things. So all other things, National Tourism Master Plan development, maybe the visa issues and all these kind of things are happening because we don't have this priority industry status for tourism. Nobody asked from the tourism minister whenever they have been passing a policy. That is a statement made by the minister himself, not by me. Right? So, other thing is the organizational structure we plan. I don't want to go through this organizational structure, but at the same time, the apex body of National Tourism Commission, which is similar to the tourism commissions of the developed countries, is being established, where the particular people make the decisions and they have the vested power. They are over and above the rest of the people and they can make the particular decisions about the tourism. So that is how it needs to be happen. And then there's policy formulation arm, with all the sub-councils, as and when required, we can form a sub-council. As an example, right now we have advisory council, which has no power. Just a letter and nobody knows what that advisory council members can do. Nothing. Because they don't have any statutory powers, they don't have any say. They just be like, say, they are, probably have a chat, have a good tea, and probably chit-chat a little bit to your colleagues in the tourism industry and go back. And things happen. Without they even know about it. So that is something that we need to be changed. So we are forming these sub-councils for that exact purpose, where it consists of those people and using them for the particular purpose. And we are combining the particular tourism, different type of tourism authorities and bureaus into one, what we call as Sri Lanka Tourism Authority, which has developmental arm and which has promotional or marketing arm and running it in likewise. And the other elements which we already have can be utilized effectively when we set up this thing. And when you have been reading the book, you will be probably see how these things have been happening and how each element will be empowered with. And the other strategic dimension which I have been already talked about is sustainable use of natural and cultural resources in tourism, which we need certain things to be established. One thing, we need to have tourism resource inventory for this country, which we don't have. Which we don't have an updated inventory, which we are not knowing what places that we can do tourism, what places we can't do, what are the underutilized things. And on the other hand, there's no synergy of tourism plans and the other plans of the country. Maybe UDA plans, wildlife plans, forestry plans, cultural triangle plans, archaeology department plans are not synergized together. Probably what we are not been talking about, not to destroy any of those properties, but at the same time taking a kind of a very informative decision quickly by together. So that's what we are proposing, this kind of element itself. And carrying capacity management, we know most of the tourism resources in here has an overutilization issue. Or we have been, like say, not managing our carrying capacity. If it is Sigiriya or a wildlife park like Yala, you see like you more jeeps than animals, more human beings than anybody else. And that can be managed, that can be digitalized. Maybe you can be zonalized the particular day or the particular period and given benefit for people for traveling in the off seasons and all these kind of things, but we never manage those kind of things, and that is one issue. And tourism sector land bank is the other concept. We know huge lot of land masses are being owned by the tourism bodies, SATD and all these kind of places. And you have like say Deddua, maybe you have Kuchaveli, maybe you have Mana Beach Strip, and all these kind of things are not being able to sold to anybody for so long. Because of the fact we are not being clear in those lands, because of the fact that investors know when you have been taking a land, it will take another 3 years to develop. Unlike an island in a Maldives, when you take it, when you lease it, you know your development can start next day itself. So those kind of land banks, a digitalized one, will allow transparent as well as an integrative manner of land grabbing or land taking by the tourism investors. And sustainable energy, water and waste management plans for tourism areas and declaring tourism areas is something what we have been looking at. So digitalization, interconnectivity and regenerative tourism are the three concepts that we are talking about under this pillar. And then the human capital development. Actually, the human resources policy in tourism need to be revisited and reviewed. Actually, the usage of the particular youngsters in tourism, is it still a hazardous industry? Is a question. Under the label of Sri Lanka, we consider tourism as a hazardous industry, which we eliminate other industries from this hazardous status. In hazardous industries, you can only recruit people after 18 or something of that sort. And that is the period. Most hazardous industries are three-wheel driving. But people can do that as long as they get a license, they can do that. But we consider tourism as a hazardous industry and we didn't review it as well. So those kind of things and the guidelines and how we have been like say stabilizing the minimum salaries, the standards, whether we are in par with the world, those kind of things need to be relooked at. And the human capital demand survey and comprehensive training need analysis was not being done for this industry. We have been saying 600,000 people or maybe 500,000 people are in the industry. Some people have been saying it's 480,000 people who are in the industry in some way or other, directly or indirectly. And we don't know the exact demands. The demand patterns are being changed. The migratory patterns are being changed. Trends are being changed. So this review, this update need to be happen. Then only we can do the training need analysis. Sometimes we have been developing certain people who might not be having any jobs in the market. But certain other jobs, you don't have any people in the market. So that is something wrong with the training development policy of the particular tourism itself. And the standardizing, upgrading and expansion of tourism training network, we see there's a kind of fluctuation of the standards. From one institute, there are standardized ways of doing it. Some other institutes, it is no good. In other countries, you have NEQ standards maintained, looked at and reviewed. And also you are bringing down international tourism standards for those kind of countries because the industry like tourism does not need to have local standards. It should have international standards because it's an international industry itself. A particular F&B, food and beverage manager in a particular country would be served in the same manner in another country itself. So the standards will be same. Standards will be globalized. So we can acquire those standards into Sri Lanka itself. And the academic industry collaboration is what we look at right now. There are about 6 to 8 government ventures or universities who are actually developing and delivering tourism degrees at least for last 10 years of time. If we evaluate what these people are doing after they get the graduation, they are actually 4 years degrees, specialized degrees. And at least 1,500 people with 4 years specialized degrees coming out of the particular universities. And most of them are either developmental officers of the government. Maybe in some department they work as a kind of a development officer. or they else go to the teaching, or else they're in some other industry. The massive investment made by the government for tourism education is in vain. So that is something we need to look at, because it is one simple element which is missing. That is the practical exposure and the professionalism where they can be adapted into industry. In the vacations and all these kind of things, people can be adapt those qualifications. There are so many international qualifications. Maybe like the American Hotel and Motel Associations or CHEs or whatsoever. These can be acquired along with the degree, which make you a kind of a real, conceptually skilled as well as professionally skilled human being. And you can utilize those kind of people for the industry's development. And the other thing is the social protection and contributory pension scheme. Why we propose this? We see that the tourism industry is one of the industries which is extremely sensitive in this particular socio-economic environment. And whenever the tourism industry collapses, people who work in that industry suffers. And there's nobody to look after them. And a kind of a contributory pension scheme, contributory insurance scheme, some kind of a particular Dayakatva Vishrama Vetup are in other industries, are in other parts of the world, which protect these people in a long run. So that is something which we really need to be introduced into this particular country and to the tourism industry. That actually helps us to mitigate this migration issue to a certain extent. When you are having a kind of drastic tourism drop, you know that this country will prone you to be like, say, having no job within next few years of time. So migration is the only option. So that need to be prevented only by doing that. And then the innovative tourism product development, I think I talked much about it. But at the same time, the particular tours like accessibility, the particular differently able people, how well that we can manage it in Sri Lanka. I know differently able people like to visit these kind of countries. They want to visit, they have money, they have this affluency. But at the same time, do we have that facilities? Even the major tourist companies have been knowing how many number of vehicles that we have for handling disabled particular tourists. Or whether we have certain beach mats or something like that. Not even a single beach mat in this country. So these kind of things are what we have been looking at. You can read on that as well. So I think I actually been only talking about this destination marketing because of the fact that everybody knows how the marketing happens here. So we need some kind of a strategic marketing plan. We need global marketing campaigns not done by an advertising agency, but planned by the particular tourism industry itself and given to advertising agency to implement. So that is what we are looking at. So digital destination marketing, government-backed MSME marketing, and the global marketing campaigns are what we are looking at. So these are the things that we have been thinking about, not thinking about. We are even when Mr. Anura Kumara Disanayaka becomes the president, we are going to implement it, for sure. And we are trying to convert the policy into the plans, because the plan is something need to be developed from the policy. In Sri Lanka, what happened is you develop the plan, then think about the policy. And policies are somewhere else, plans are somewhere else, both are in the particular tourism development authority covered in some form. You have about, I think, 6 to 7 plans. Because all of us are working in these government tourism authorities. I was a DG in one particular organization. I think many of you are actually the office bearers of those organizations. And you know how many plans that you have. And sometimes these are recycling again and again and develop another plan. And somebody gives us some kind of a grant to do so as well. And so we change the Pitta cover and put another plan itself. So that is not what we need. We need a plan. We need a particular level, national level plans, provincial level plans, and the site plans to run this particular business itself. So we are not having very revolutionary type of goals, but at least we have some goals which we think we can achieve. One thing is to increase this particular revenue from 4.4 billion to 10 billion. And the other thing is the tourist numbers from 2.3 million to 4 million. And the employment to be increased to 800,000, because you know migration will anyway happen. So all over the world, the global tourism employments will be in demand. So those things is what we are looking at. So at least if you can increase this $174 expenditure per day to $250, even below Maldives, we will be doing a great achievement within 5 years of time. So with the policy changes, with the law changes, with the support of all of you, we will be able to do that. And this is not a policy of anybody else. This is the policy of yours. So we need your support. We need to be part of it. And the biggest support that we need to have right now is to be having a particular party governing this country who can implement this policy. That is none other than the NPP. Thank you very much.